In this video, we're going to dive into the topic of accredited and sophisticated investors. What do those terms mean? What kind of impact does it have on your investing journey? And does it really even matter? The US is confusing enough as it is, so I hope that this video will help you demystify this designation. I'm Dan, and I'm on a mission to help immigrant professionals grow their wealth through real estate. If you want a copy of my passive investing guide, click down below in the description. Before we dive into the classifications, let me give you a little bit of a background. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is an independent agency of the US government that regulates the securities markets. This system of investor classification was really meant to help protect investors by the SEC, so it's important to know. All right, so let's dive in. There's two types of investors: accredited and sophisticated, and they're both different, so let's talk about it. So what's an accredited investor? So accredited investors are allowed to participate in unregistered securities offerings, such as real estate syndications, as long as they meet one of the SEC's requirements on income, net worth, and other factors. First is net worth. You need to have a net worth of at least $1 million, either yourself individually or with your spouse, excluding your primary residence. Two is that you have income that's at least $200,000 for yourself a year, or with your spouse, $300,000, and you've had that income for the last 2 years. Third is that you hold a special designation, a certification like Series 7, Series 82, Series 65, FINRA licenses, for example. If you've got any of those, you can qualify as an accredited investor. And there are other more minor ways to qualify, but those are really the biggies. And note that the SEC has the right to change this definition at any time, and there has been talk of that potentially happening at some point, but for now, that's the definition. Now let's talk about sophisticated investors. Now, sophisticated investors are not as well defined as the accredited investors. Let me read a little bit from what the SEC had to say. A sophisticated investor is a high net worth individual who is considered to have sufficient knowledge and experience in financial and business matters to be capable of evaluating the merits and risks of a prospective investment. Now, that's just a mouthful to say somebody that is experienced in investing in financial matters, but that's kind of a nebulous definition. It's based on the overall experience of the individual, which is very subjective. So, an investor who is very knowledgeable about financial matters could be a sophisticated investor or an accredited investor simply based on their net worth or their income, which is a big difference. So why does this matter? Because sophisticated investors may have access to some of the same investment opportunities that accredited investors do, but there are limitations placed on them. Why is that? Because the SEC sees that that individual has a lower net worth or lower income, so investments like these represent a larger part of that person's net worth. And so this is an attempt by the SEC to help protect individuals that don't have $1 million, let's say. So let's talk about how sophisticated investors are limited. So all securities offerings, including real estate, are required to be registered with the SEC unless they qualify for an exemption. Now, the exemptions that we talk about in real estate syndications often sit within Regulation D, and there's two types. They sound very similar, but they're quite different in some important ways. Let me show you what they are. So first is a 506B exemption. This allows an unlimited number of accredited investors to participate in the offering, but it limits the number of sophisticated investors to 35. The other exemption that you hear a lot about is called the 506C exemption. And this allows any number of accredited investors, but they must be verified by the company issuing the offering. Now, this is important because you'll see very often syndications that come out that are either one or the other. And so knowing the designation is important. So if you're an accredited investor, you're able to invest in either one of these. But if you're a sophisticated investor, you can only invest in the 506B offerings as long as you're one of the 35. Determining whether you're an accredited investor or sophisticated investor is fairly straightforward. Most of us know what our income has been over the last 2 years together with our spouse, but not everybody knows what their net worth is. So let me take you through an example of this net worth calculation so you've got a clearer idea as to what it looks like. So in this example, we have two individuals, Angelo and Juliana. And on purpose, I tried to keep the numbers quite similar so it's more straightforward. They both have homes that are valued at $400,000. Angelo has a $250,000 mortgage. Juliana has a $150,000 mortgage. Both of their homes are worth the same. If you look at their assets, they both have the exact same amount of assets. So they both have 401ks or retirement accounts worth $600,000. They've got bank accounts of $300,000, other investments in stocks like $200,000, and then a car that is valued at $25,000. So they're pretty even in terms of their assets. But if you look at their liabilities, they both have credit card debt of $50,000. And Juliana specifically has medical debt of $100,000 because of a big medical issue she had in the past. And they both have personal debt of $50,000 and $30,000 respectively. So if you look at their assets minus their liabilities, in the net worth here, Angelo has a net worth of just above $1 million, and Juliana has a net worth of $945,000. Now, notice in these calculations that we did not include the primary residence. This was ignored. So really, whatever was in that box really is immaterial to the definition of an accredited investor. So at the end, Angelo's got over $1 million in net worth. Juliana does not. So Angelo would then qualify as an accredited investor, while Juliana would not qualify. She would, if she's sophisticated enough with her financial knowledge and experience, she'd be a sophisticated investor. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a flavor of how this is calculated. So if you want to learn more about whether you're accredited or sophisticated, the SEC did post an investor bulletin back in April of 21 that lists the requirements and gives some examples like I did to help you determine whether or not you're an accredited investor. If you meet one of those SEC requirements to be accredited, then you're accredited. You'll find a link below in the description to this bulletin. And I'm also including in the description links to the accredited investor definition and the sophisticated investor definition, so you've got it handy. Real estate, just like any other investment, has risks. So it's important for you to research and understand any investment opportunities that you run into. Not just the projected returns, but also what are the risks involved. Talk to the operators and the ones that are putting out that real estate offering for more information. So did you find this video valuable? Click the like button below, and you can subscribe also to get other videos about wealth and real estate. Have a great day.